Okay, I guess we're ready to get underway. Janice, you're sitting in for Randy tonight. I'd say you've been here before, you know, sort of how it's done, don't you?
Not his new room.
Okay, ready for you.
Okay, Denzel Potter.
Here.
John Brown.
Here.
Stanley Grigsby.
Here.
Brandon Evans.
Here.
Anthony Lockett.
Here.
And Stan.
Here. So, we do have enough for a quorum. Got 100% of them.
Whole crew.
All right, we'll continue on with this occupational tax ordinance amendment. Do I hear a motion, or that we take up this occupational tax in order to get the budget on its way? You know, it's getting down to crunch time that we need to get this thing done. And I know you all know more about it than I do, how important it is.
Robert Brown told me on Thursday that you could go ahead and send in the budget that you had ready and make a note at the bottom of it that you have a increase in your occupational tax, but explain that it has not been passed by the fiscal court.
And I've got his his response right here, what he said.
Okay. Then that you can send that budget
So
in.
I don't think you can do it without having it passed. That's the way I understand it.
He
But
says,
you're welcome to read this,
Email.
the email that I got from him on Friday.
that may probably be the same email that I got,
Probably is.
that you could go ahead and send your budget in, and then when it comes back, it becomes the budget of the magistrates for them to deal with, and then if they can't balance it without the tax, then we have to.
You may want to read that email, that's not what it says.
And if you want to read it there, you can read it right now.
That may not be the one. That's just what he told me on it was Thursday.
If we don't get one passed, I guess they'll come pass one for us and then oust us all. Send us all home.
Okay, that's basically what I was saying, that you present your budget.
We have to have an approved first read.
Okay, it's approved, but it's just approved of the first reading. It's not actually
Well,
voted on.
that takes a motion. That's what he said.
Well, yeah,
So if we do that, it's just one.
but it's not approving the budget. It's approving the first reading of the budget. It's what the way.
We can do the first reading and that at the same time, according to that email he sent here.
Okay, another, you might want to send all the way around. We can vote on it that way, but then when it comes back, we can make changes as we see fit. We're not.
Well, we're dragging our feet on it regardless of how it goes. We need to get something done, because we need to get it to Frankfurt and back, and then us look at it again. So I don't, I ask again if I have any,
Well, you're going to make the first motion.
I can make the motion that we pass it. Anybody else want to say anything about it? Does anybody have any alternatives that they want to try to propose? You might tell us again what kind of ramifications that we find, Miles, if we don't do what we're supposed to do.
One guy's in a tough spot. Fiscal court, by law, we do a lot of different things here. We put in roads, we do certain community projects. The fiscal county's main role, and the one that the KRS statute says that we must abide by, is to enact a balanced budget every year, is to vote on a balanced budget. That's the single main job of the fiscal court. We're supposed to take in money in the form of revenue, and we're supposed to spend money in the form of expenditures. Now, some counties, they spend more than others, and they tax more than others. But every county, by law, is required to enact a balanced budget before July 1st. That balanced budget has to go through DLJ, as everyone knows, and that takes time. It takes about 3 weeks. If we don't enact a balanced budget, and that's whatever it is, whether, I'm not a voting member here, I have no say-so. If you want to cut spending, if you want to raise taxes, whatever you want to do, we have to have a balanced budget. If we do not, then Morgan County government will cease to exist come July 1st. Morgan County will be sued by the Department of Local Government, and almost all county employees, people deemed non-essential, and that's most of us, okay, will automatically lose their jobs. And that just doesn't affect the workers in Morgan County, that affects their families, and that affects extended people that rely upon these paychecks, including local businesses. As I said, Morgan County will get sued, and then, when we go into court and we have to explain why that we are not following KRS law, then the judge is going to look at us and then basically order us to enact a balanced budget. If at that time the voting members of this court refuse to do so, then those voting members will be subject to contempt. As I said in our last meeting, it's been done one time before. I've since done a little bit of research on that. It was our neighbor Breathitt County. 3 voting members of the district court went to jail for 4 days at $200 a day fine. And after 4 days, they come out and they did vote on a balanced budget, and it passed. And Breathitt County got themselves out of trouble. But as I said, I don't care one way or the other what we want to do. If we want to cut it, cut expenditures, if we want to raise revenue, if we want to do a little bit of both, we have to enact a balanced budget. It will get done. Whether we do it now or in 5 weeks when we're sitting in a jail cell, it has to be done. And I cannot make it any more clear than that.
I don't think any of us want to go through the embarrassment of something like that whenever we're all capable of making decisions and doing the right thing, what needs to be done. I know I sit here and I don't want to have to raise anything, but if we continue to provide the good people of Morgan County with what they've been used to, then we're going to have to raise that tax 1%. So we can let it go and see what happens. I'm not much for that myself, is seeing what comes down the line after that, but if that's the way it is, that's the way it is. So, I don't hear any motion made to adopt the budget, so we'll move on.
I have the email here, I don't have my glasses. Janice, can you read this from Robert Brown there? That he sent me?
Do you want me to read it?
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's all right.
It is the responsibility of the county judge to present to the fiscal court a balanced budget, even if the budget includes the increase in the occupational tax, of course. Of course, the occupational tax must be approved by the fiscal court, but both can be done at the same time. Once you've had the first reading, then you must send your budget to DLG. As state local finance officer, put my light back on. Okay. Approval, let's see, it's like, I am required to review and approve all county budgets. Once I approve your budget and return to the county, the budget now becomes the fiscal court's budget. During this time, changes can be made to the budget prior to having the second and final reading of your budget. Hope this helps.
But you still have to have the first reading, and then we can send it.
Yeah. On down in the response I got from him, he says, I highly recommend that the judge work diligently in submitting a balanced budget to the court and have the first reading very, very soon. That's what Robert Brown wrote, so. Hearing no recommendation, or while we move on.
I've got one recommendation, and I mentioned it the last meeting we had, and that, the wellness center, is going to be a big burden to this county. you know, if I did my figures right, I think, probably looking about $100,000 that we're gonna be out. Of course, that's just projections.
Yeah.
That you all got together. And I think that would leave us somewhere around $500,000
Yes.
deficit. That's, you know, that's kind of the difference in adding a 1% payroll tax and a 0.5%. And maybe going back and cutting, you know, to balance the budget.
Was your suggestion, I did think about that, about the wellness center, about closing it. Because of tax credit laws, I don't think that we could ever close that for the 7-year compliance period, because it is supposed to be a benefit to this community for those periods, and if you closed it and didn't leave it open to the public, I think that we would be out of compliance with the requirements.
Even if ARH is in it to lease?
Well, I'm just saying that's a legality I'm not sure of. We need to talk to Jim about this.
I think we need to check on that because,
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure, because if you do I have audited low-income housing that deals with tax credits, and you cannot shut that place down during the time that it has to benefit the community. I don't know if it can partially benefit the community with ARH in it, or if it 100% has to benefit the community. I mean, that's something that we would just have to talk to a legal person about.
yeah. I'm just afraid that we're going to run into issues next year of having, of this same issue, having to raise taxes just to keep it in operation.
If we use what employees we've got to run it, then we're still gonna have an expense of the utilities, you know, but I don't see where we have to hire anybody to run it as far as that, and you know, once we get ARH in it, and then maybe get some other people in it. I mean, there's office space and different things that we can rent, you know, that might bring in some more revenue. We'll have the utilities and, you know, the water and sewer and electric and stuff like that. But, I mean, other than that, I don't see where, you know, if we don't try to hire a bunch of people to work in it, if we use what people we've got till we get it, you know, get it started and get it going and see what it's going to do. I mean, I don't see where it's going to be, which it'll probably, like you said, it'll probably be around, I figure somewhere around 75, 80,000, something like that, for the utilities and all that, you know. Maybe a little more than that, but it's somewhere in that neighborhood. But that would give us a chance to see what it's going to do, you know, and then if I mean, who knows, we might rent enough space out to, you know, till we break even or even make a little money with it, you know.
Well, these people that have invested in this, you know, that, I don't think they're gonna let it sit idly by without having something to turn it over.
I don't think they're legally allowed to.
Yeah, the legality part of it is another thing too, so I don't, well, it's not finished yet. We won't know how it's gonna be till it is finished, but it's supposed to be finished within this next month.
But if you get ARH in there, that'll be somewhere.
We don't have a firm commitment on them yet, do we? About them coming to town? I mean,
Nothing's been
the,
finalized.
Real Properties has a meeting this week about it, don't they? And I don't know whether they'll bring us a report that they'll take it or not, but we're waiting on that to see.
Well, I talked to the CEO the other day, and he told me that as far as he could tell, that everything looked like it was, he said they already had 2 doctors were coming in 2016.
Oh, yeah, I think it's
And
one of
everything,
those.
you know.
I mean, they're just
I
not
mean, he
paperwork
said,
here.
yeah, I mean, something could change, you know, how that goes, but the way he talked to me, everything looked like it was a go. So, I mean, that'll be 70
Yeah, it's,
thousand. And then if we could rent, maybe,
Utilities with that,
maybe, rent,
I'll say the utilities will be tremendous.
well, I mean, it's supposed to be a energy
Efficient.
efficient building.
But look what a building it is.
I know, but I mean.
What size it is.
It shouldn't, if we could, like for some attorneys or something, you know, if we could rent some office space like that, and, you know, I mean, we've got a lot of opportunities, we just have to you know, we have to kind of put legs on them and make them work.
Hopefully that's what can be done. Well, do we have a recommendation of a county treasurer to be appointed this time?
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Zach Engel.
Zach Engel? Okay.
I'll second that motion. Had that boy in school.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
What was that again that you all said?
Zach Engel,
What's his qualifications?
he's,
Who is that, Stanley? Is that?
that's, Pete Engel's boy.
Okay.
Ray Engel's
Yeah,
grandson.
Marie that used to be,
Yeah.
okay.
Ray and Marie's grandson.
Have you talked to him about it?
Yeah,
How soon can he start?
talk like any time.
Okay, yeah, because the sooner we get him in, the better.
Okay.
We need to,
You know,
so, or are you appointing him as of what date then?
It's today.
Today?
Well, let's see. Yours was effective how long?
I mean,
Well, I go through
what I
the
meant by
30th.
that, Jody, was I didn't know, I mean, as far as the appointment, it would be today, but whenever he needs to start, we
Well, I
can
think you
set-
should start like immediately.
we can set that date, I mean, I
Yeah,
wouldn't, you know.
even because, yeah, I was gonna mention that, like June 23rd, I would be on vacation, so starting June 23rd. So the sooner you get somebody in here, at least they'll be here in the office even if he did it for the Tuesday, Thursdays, and half a day Friday that I'm here, if we could start him out like that, and then see, you know, how it goes, and how much he thinks he needs help.
Stanley, do you know what his occupation is or what his profession was?
He works, he's working at Bank of the Mountain right now.
Okay, I don't know him, I
I don't
think.
know if he's is he a loan officer, Brandon?
Does he have an accounting degree?
I'm not sure if it's accounting or it's in the business administration, I
Does he
don't
file any
know.
payroll reports and stuff like that?
Do what now?
Has he ever filed any payroll reporting, done any payroll reporting?
I'm not sure. He worked for Gateway for a long time. I'm not sure what all he did there.
Because I mean, that would be the most complicated,
Yeah.
the most, the biggest responsibility. So at least there's 2 pay periods before the end of the month. You can sit in and watch that. So,
Okay.
Okay, let's see,
Everybody aye, or did you talk to?
yeah, we already voted aye. I didn't, I'm abstaining. The item that you needed to discuss,
Oh, yes.
On
Speaking
the-
of payroll and the complications of payroll, which I'll go over this with him too. This month was a 3-month pay period, or a 3-pay month. So you have to do something a little different on the system. So on the May 29th biweekly payroll, you have to click certain things to check off to withhold just our selected health insurance things. We don't withhold it on that 3rd pay. Well, when we did that, the Kentucky Employee Retirement System withholding failed to withhold from the employees on that pay. So I wanted to know what you all want me to do about it. Because legitimately I should request it back from them. But they've already got the money and potentially will spend it by the time I request it back. So I would need to transfer money to make that payment for the 10th so that the retirement system, we wouldn't be fined for it, even if we did go ahead and try to collect it back from them. So,
Have you talked to him about it?
no, I thought I'd ask you all first, because I didn't want to go ahead and try to collect it from them, and you all say, well, let's handle it the same way we handled the health insurance issue, and just basically, it's an error on our end, and we don't want to cause them any harm with their paycheck or next one.
How much is it?
Yeah, how much we talking?
It is, out of the general fund, it would be $694.84. Out of the road fund, it would be $704.81. And out of the jail fund, it would be $301.11. That's a total of $1,700.76.
And you scatter that over how many employees?
Several employees. I mean, it's not a ton out of their check, but
I don't-
still, it would hurt them probably.
I don't think it hurt the fiscal court if they got a little extra this time.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
And what are we doing?
That's a motion to transfer the required amounts from those funds to cover the employee portion of retirement for the May 29th payroll. I thought you might want to do that, that's why I didn't want to go ahead and go on for it.
Well, make them feel good. It won't hurt us that bad, will it? Or back to the law anyway.
All ayes.
Yeah. Well, do I hear a motion that we adjourn?
So move.
All right. Stanley's made it. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for your attendance. Well, looks like it's time 1 o'clock and plus time to get started, so some of these fellows may want to get on to work. I know John does. You're cutting in on his time. Let's stand and say the pledge of allegiance and then we'll have a prayer. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for another day of life. We thank you for the many blessings that you've brought upon us. We pray for those that are in need, that you might reach down and help them. We pray that whatever we do here today will be to help our county as it moves along. Thank you for all the many blessings. Amen. Mr. Clerk, I'll turn it over to you.
Denzel Potter. Here. John Brown.
Here.
Stanley Reed.
Here.
Brandon Evans.
Here.
Anthony Likens. Here. Stanley Franklin.
Here. This public hearing on this LGEA, is there any discussion about that the first thing this morning? If not, we'll move on down to the next item on our agenda. We're supposed to have the first reading of this occupational tax ordinance, this amendment. Do we have to have that okay before we read it, or?
We have to ask for a motion.
Do I hear a motion that we,
You can make the motion, Stan.
I'll make the motion that we have this occupational tax amendment. Do I hear a second for that motion? You know, times are grinding down slow. We don't have much time left to pass the budget. Hope somebody's got something, an alternative to it.
If we don't get a second, it dies for lack of a motion.
Okay. Then it'll have to die for motion motion, emotion, motion.
Lack of a second.
Like a second. Our budget ordinance reading. that will not take place either, I guess.
You can make a motion for it.
I can make the motion that we do it. Do I hear a second to that motion? Okay. Hearing none, then we move to item number 3.
Stanley, I would recommend you discuss that with the county attorney. He may
Okay.
have something to say about that.
I was in contact with the Department of Local Government, Robert Brown. He's about the chief financial guy down there. The conference call also included Rich Ornstein, which I think everybody here is aware from CACO. It basically says in KRS law that every county is required to have a balanced budget. The balanced budget is to be in effect by July 1st. However, the July 1st is a little bit, that can be misinterpreted. In order to get a balanced budget by that day, sometimes it takes 2 to 3 weeks to be able to work with Frankfurt in order to clarify any mistakes, in the budget. Every county goes through this. Usually you're required to have your first reading of a balanced budget by June 1st. That allows Frankfurt and everybody enough time. I mean, they have 119 other counties to get everything in line by the July 1st date. The consequences of not having a balanced budget by the July 1st date is that first things first, all non-essential county employees lose their jobs immediately. Now, I don't really know what non-essential county employees is, but I can guarantee you that most county employees will lose their jobs as of July 1st. The second consequence is that the state will sue Morgan County and Morgan County Circuit Court for basically not following the KRS law. Okay, you have to have a balanced budget by July 1st. One county has went beyond that. Okay. One county has actually, they refused to do a balanced budget. After the circuit court judge in that county, the senior circuit court judge, ordered them to do so, to follow KRS law, they did not. They were, thereby all the voting members of the fiscal court were put in jail for contempt. So as I said, this is not, a maybe thing. It is by July 1st we're to have a balanced budget, or the consequences, could be dire for the county and for each individual county employee.
And to help with that scheduling, we gave them a schedule of the time frames, but just to narrow that down better. Of course, by June 1st, like you said, we were supposed to have our first reading. In order to give notice, we would need to have the first reading sent to DLG, and they would need to get it back to us by June 10th, approximately June 10th. Between June 10th and June 30th, we would need to have advertised, and you know how our advertising works. If you don't have it by Monday of that week, so it would need to be a week prior to June 30, the Monday prior to that, to get it in the paper, so that we could advertise for our second reading, which would have to be done by June 30. So just to narrow that down a little bit more of what the time frame is there for each of those items.
So you can see it's very, very important that we get this budget worked out. So I would rather stay at home and raise a garden rather than go to jail, but that could be a possibility.
Well, you presented it and made a motion.
I've done what I'm supposed to do, so.
Yeah.
On that wellness center, on the 352,000 that you've got going out for payments, have we ever taken a payment on that?
We have not, because during construction, Real Properties 1 and 2 makes those payments.
What we want to try to do is use that as we get our budget passed, for one thing.
That will not balance your budget.
Well, that'll help.
It'll help, but we gotta have that money to pay it in the next fiscal year.
Well, we ain't, not yet, we ain't never paid a payment on that.
We have to as soon as construction's over, by June
It's not gonna be
30.
over with yet.
It'll be over by June 30.
We can use that money over, help our budget. That's what we want to try to do.
I mean, if that's what you wanna try to do, we can talk to DLG about it, but it will not balance it, because we have to have those expenditures in there, because they are legitimate expenditures that will occur in the upcoming fiscal year.
Well, right now, that money belongs to us, though.
It does not. the board has to approve to transfer that money to you.
Do you have the attorney Stifford, is that his name? Do you have his phone number?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what he told me, was that money belonged to Morgan County. I asked him directly, can we do anything we want to do with that money? And his reply was, yes.
Okay, well, I mean,
That's that. And so
you'll
I
have to
need,
take that to those boards.
and I've talked to other real people on the, real properties. And they said, well, I overheard that discussion and it belongs to you all. If it belongs to us and we need to make payments later on, we can put that in the budget to help balance the budget.
That's what I did. I did put it in there to
But then,
help balance the budget. The money came in also from rebuild. I'm assuming that they will allow you to have that money and then also make those lease payments. We have a lease from Morgan County Fiscal Court to Morgan County Real Properties 1 and 2. And I don't know if the attorney has read those leases, but he can certainly have a copy of those. But we have a lease where Morgan County Fiscal Court is required to make those payments after construction is over. Construction is anticipated to be over by the end of this fiscal year. Now, if you thought that that was the case, perhaps we should have talked to Jim Seifert. I mean, we've asked for suggestions. We should have probably talked to Jim Seifert way before now. So we can certainly, I will get you his number. He's with Stites, Harbinson, attorneys out of Louisville, but I'm telling you, he will tell you the same thing I told you.
well,
How much is the payment, Joey?
Around 60-some thousand each quarter. Well, actually, it's 352,000 divided by 4, whatever that is. That's what's in there. It's 352,000 for the next 4 quarters of the next fiscal year. That money, I did show that money is coming in, or I could have never balanced it to start with. I showed the 352 coming in that they have in their bank accounts, and I showed the 352 going out. So that's the only way we're going to be able to make those payments. And we have to make those payments for the 7-year compliance period of the tax credit entities. Okay?
What are they, about 52,000 a quarter comes in on that?
There's, what do you mean comes in on?
I mean, that entry.
When construction ends, no more interest comes in. We get no more, it stops. There's no other source of the funds. That's why if you use it now, we have nothing to pay through 2019. Okay? You will be just putting off the inevitable. And it's, I mean, we don't have it. There's nowhere to find it.
What says that we have to open the wellness center up? Anything?
Oh, I mean, we have to pay the payments on the utilities and all that.
You mean to put it into operation?
Yeah. You can raise this tax to 1.5%, and I'd say in another year or two, you have to raise it again, if you open it up.
If, if we're gonna be paying utilities and all that on it, we ought to try to use it if we can.
Well, what if you, what about this lease with ARH?
Well,
If they
We're-
agree?
That's gonna subsidize it.
we're gonna hear from that when. Jim, I see you back there. Eddie, I see you back there. You sit down on that. Excuse me, Jim. When was ARH gonna get back to us about the retro place on
We're
the?
still waiting on real properties to.
Real Properties
Make a
formed a subcommittee to work with getting the lease in place. That we have not met as of yet.
When do we meet?
Well, the whole board meets on the first Thursday of January.
Okay.
We'll wait for
Next
today.
week. Now, Rebuild Board is a whole separate board. That's the board that holds the $352,000. That's the board you're on. And Denzel and Mark Walter and David Ison and Stanley, you're on also. Which we need to go and transfer that money this morning after this meeting, because we both have to be over there this week.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
$352,000, now is that money that was budgeted for the wellness center?
No, that has nothing to do with the wellness center. I assume that's, if that's the one he's talking about.
Yeah, it's,
That's the lease payments that we are required to make because Morgan County Fiscal Court does not own these buildings. The new market tax credit situation occurred and all properties were deeded to those two entities. Those two entities now own and will lease back to us these properties, being this courthouse, this county office building, the old courthouse, the wellness center, and the extension will lease their own property. So those are leases that require payments. Those payments have to occur. Or if we were not in compliance with that, the compliance period I'm talking about through 2019, we could lose our property. We can't not pay those.
Is that the same lease amount that gets paid back to, like the extension we pay in and then we get it back?
Well, it is,
Is that
and here was
different?
the whole, and I'm sure you're more familiar than most. I originally thought that when we pay that money over, you know how, I think that everybody's probably heard this, it cycles back in to rebuild.
Right.
Rebuild then distributes that money back to,
Pays it back.
and that's during construction only. Well, no, but then it comes out of our pocket if we don't have it. You see, we only have the 352 to play with, and we had through 2019, so we had fiscal year 16, 17, 18, and 19, 4 fiscal years. After construction, no more money gets deposited into, from the construction account. Right now, the construction accounts are paying those paying those payments for interest during construction. That goes in, then they deduct a ton of fees from that. The entities, there are bookkeeping fees, various other fees that run into thousands of dollars. So each time we send it out, it comes back less. And each time we send it out, it'll come back less. Eventually you deplete that, and over the next 4 years, after this upcoming fiscal year, you run out of money. The fiscal court has to pay that. Okay, so that becomes a real issue in the upcoming 4 years. And if we use that today, it will be an issue for the next fiscal year that we're trying to budget for.
When we started the projects, we met in Mount Sterling with lawyers and so forth, and we were led to believe that we could take it's like we paid on it, and now we're paying again because we took all of the insurance money, most of the FEMA money, and it was like a matching grant. And we were told that that would be all we would have to pay. They would match up that with this new market tax credits. And in 7 years, the buildings would be turned over to Morgan County. But not one time was there any type of discussion on making payments on the interest or whatever. I mean, we met, John, you were there.
Yep.
Stanley, did you hear anything about making payments?
I would
We
think-
were under the understanding that if you take the insurance money you're getting and FEMA, that's the reason we're here today discussing this, because dead hogs along, under the bridge, we were told that if we take this money and apply it, it's like a matching grant. They will give us, what was the
Oh,
the
they did give you millions of dollars.
But you're saying now that, I
I'm
don't
not
know
saying
how,
anything, I'm telling you what I've read and what the documents say.
well,
And I can't tell you what you were told I can't answer to what someone told you in the beginning of this.
Stanley, what were we told at that time in Mount Sterling? Did you hear anything about making payments on it?
Yeah,
See,
but my understanding was that it would be like $40,000 a year or something. Basically.
very little.
Basically, what it amounted to, the money that we put in, we turned around and borrowed the money from ourselves, is basically the way they explained it to me.
Just cycle back through.
And that, for every $3 the county put in, we got $1 in new market tax money.
Now, you did get a ton of money up front. You did
If we
get
put
that,
in,
yeah.
$900,000,
Well, you know
we
that-
got $300,000 in new market tax money. But my understanding was that the payment would be like $40,000 a year.
You got any kind of contract or anything to see that's written down? that-
We have amortization schedules, I mean, I can print them for them, that's how I come up with the dollar values.
Yeah,
I can give them a backup of every document inside of that, and they need to read them. And if they come to a different conclusion, then perhaps we need to talk to the attorney. But, I mean, I have read those documents. Those are amortization schedules, just like any debt schedule you would look at. They come up to what they come up to, and that's just what I had to budget for, because that is what we will have to pay in the next quarter. Some will recycle back to rebuild. Rebuild will then turn it back to us, but it'll be less any fees. So you will not get all your money back like I had hoped, or like I'm sure you all had hoped.
But still, we ain't never got a bill to pay nothing out of $352,000.
Honey, we're looking at a budget for the next fiscal year.
Yeah, I know we are. And-
So the next fiscal year, as soon as the construction is over, we will.
What we wanna do is use that $352,000 to help, our budget.
I did, I put it in there.
Yeah, but you took it right back out.
I have to.
Yeah. We ain't never got a bill on nothing, saying that we have to pay nothing yet.
well, you know, every time that they touch that money or do anything to it, they service it in any way, somebody's gonna get a fee out of it. You can bet on that. Now, whether it be attorney fees or fees for writing the loan, whatever, but somebody is gonna have to pay. Correct?
I hope the extension office gets it.
There's not many free
It's the first
rides
time I heard
left.
that there'd be fees on it.
Yes,
Sounds
I
like
know.
we're
Like I
making
said,
payments on our own money.
As soon as I realized it, I did talk to you.
I mean, that's just not,
Well, that's the way they explained it, but the way they explained it to us was that the money, the interest, and all of the, I don't know exactly what all the proper names for it is, but in other words, there would be enough money come back to the county to make those payments. They said the last year, maybe 2 years, the last year, I think, that we might have to pay it out of the county money.
Okay, but Stanley,
But other than that, it was supposed to have been,
we just approved to take $217,000 of that dollars of that money, so it's not there anymore to balance this year's budget. So see, now you brought it down, even if it was a year, now it's probably 2 years that we're gonna have to come up with. But regardless, you're gonna have to have that money in the budget. If you all don't want a budget for that expenditure, that's fine, but I'm gonna sure let DLG look at those amortization schedules and see that that is not legitimate not to budget for that line item. I mean, I will take it out. That's fine. It will not balance your budget, so you're gonna need to come up with, whatever we need to do. You can't put the money in there and also not have it going out.
so I've got a meeting in Frankfurt at 11 o'clock. If it's all right with the court, I'll go see Robert Brown and see if he'll come and have a workshop with us. And that way we know, we don't want to do anything wrong, but things that, I think what Denzel is saying, let's put this in today. Let's get a balanced budget, send it to Frankfurt, and then it's in the general fund, so we can move it around if we need to. And then after we get the budget approved with the tax rate that we have now, then we can start moving things around. I've had different ones to call me and say, why don't you go and try to get some grants to run this wellness center? You've got the First Lady, Obama saying, I'm into wellness, I'm sure there's grants out there. When the First Lady speaks, and I know when Bush was in office, his wife concentrated on education and especially reading, and there was different grants that Morgan County got for different reading programs. They're not going to have their first ladies to speak out on something that they don't put money toward.
We are the hope is to receive a grant to retrofit so ARH can go in there.
Okay.
So we are working
So
with
if
grants
we're
to
gonna-
help that.
The grants would go toward the wellness center,
Go
right?
retrofit to put
So-
ARH in there.
Why can't we leave the wellness center out of the budget until we get a balanced budget, and then when we get the grants, open up the wellness center?
The grants don't pay the operating costs. The
But if-
grants pay the construction costs.
But I think there's grants
Well,
out
I
there.
mean, we have to work on what we know right now. What we know right now is that we have a construction grant, and hopefully ARH will go in, so I've included the $72,000 in rental receipts from them.
Why can't we look at some grants that would pay to get people?
I'm not saying we can't look at them, I'm just saying, are they in the process, are we going to get them in the next fiscal year? I mean, we wouldn't want to put something in the budget that is not accurate.
I'd say 90% of the budgets that go in from each county has some things that, the accuracy of some of this, I mean, I was in the first committee meeting, we just assumed, a lot of this is assumption.
No, we didn't assume, we used a 4-year
Well-
comparison of what we expected to happen, and we used the current to date. So we had to make estimates based on prior actual occurrences.
It's just like 91,000 for the wellness center, utilities to run a new building. I could see technology building being kind of high because as the building gets older, the utilities go up. But 91,000, and I noticed
That came
another.
from real numbers from Letcher County.
Okay, but if you'd have went over to Martin County, the judge told me, he said, come and look at our white elephant. And I said, do what? Yeah, we have a white elephant up here. It's called a wellness center that we were able to run as long as we had cold severance tax. But now we don't have that, and it's a closed building. Breathitt County, I think they have one, but they rented it out for sale trailers. Just doesn't go over.
Well, here's what I've done with the budget. The wellness center is not actually making you in a deficit. The wellness center has zeroed out as you requested. I've reduced the salaries on there for you, down to, I don't remember what it was, but about $50,000 just to get it to balance.
The $100,000 that you have at the door, do you really think $100,000 would come in to the wellness center?
I have no idea. That's based on that information from Letcher County. That's all I can tell you. That's the best information we had at the time to set the budget.
These that have been operating have had coal severance tax money to fall back on to help them operate, which we didn't have very much to start with and won't have any now. But you'll find that they'll be having troubles operating whenever the coal severance tax is all gone. I mean, that's just laying out a fact, you
That's
know.
what
And they'll,
Martin-
if you call them and talk to them, they'll tell you that.
That's what the Martin County judge
Yeah,
told me.
I'm
He
so
said
high.
we were able to keep that wellness center open, we used all of our coal severance tax, and then, when we lost that, we shut the building down. I mean, he was basically saying it's a waste of money.
I think the thing we got going for us is if we get a clinic in there from ARH that will be there to, you know, help our people along. That's what needs to be done.
Can we get enough
Yeah.
money from ARH to
We can't get
pay
enough to-
utilities and leave the rest of it shut down?
We can't get enough to run it, I don't think.
No, not to run it up.
No,
Just
the
not
man
money.
was probably right, it is probably a white elephant, but we don't know that yet because we haven't been there.
I mean, so your proposal is to shut it, I mean, wouldn't you at least have to run some kind of utilities in place?
There was someone told us last week at a meeting that we should try to lease it out to someone and let some private company come in and run it and then pay us so much for the lease.
Tony Wilder.
Tony Wilder.
He said you would be fine with this.
Well, I mean, that would be fine, but we're gonna need to get those people.
Is it an absolute that we must open it up in
Oh, no, that's up to you all.
2015, 16? Can we not put a budget down without the wellness center?
Well, I'm just saying that doesn't really affect your budget, because I think I'm actually showing revenue if you add up all the wellness center stuff now.
What about the payroll on that, like on a solid waste? You got down to $165,000. Who all gets paid on that?
The people you put down there, the 2 ladies, the 4 men.
Any more discussion? We'll move on then. All right, the treasurer's got something to say?
Yeah, regarding the appointments. I had a few things to say about that. Of course, I'm not a speechwriter by no means, but, so I put down a few thoughts so that I would be more clear and concise. I would first like to express how I've enjoyed serving the citizens of Morgan County as the county treasurer since I was appointed in 2014 in April. I accepted the position assuming that your magistrates were looking for someone with substantial experience and training to perform the very difficult job that lay ahead given the financial difficulties our county faced. The magistrates were informed of my education and training during my interview for the position. I would like to make the public aware of my qualifications. I earned a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics and a Master of Business Administration, both from Morehead State University. I am a certified public accountant. I have been auditing county and local government entities for going on 15 years now. In performing these audits, it has been my responsibility to inform county officials of non-compliances with county law or failures to follow regulations prescribed by the Kentucky Department for Local Government. In my capacity as your treasurer, I have attempted to advise your magistrates when they have made decisions that contradict a Kentucky law or a regulation prescribed by the Kentucky Department for Local Government. For those who know me, you know that two of my biggest faults are that I'm very blunt and very outspoken. I cannot simply tell people what they want to hear. I will speak the truth regardless of the consequences. Unfortunately, my bluntness and outspokenness are not traits that are conducive to a life in politics. Since your magistrates did not take action to reappoint me at the last fiscal court meeting, it is evident that they do not want me to continue as their county treasurer. Therefore, it is with great disappointment and sadness that effective June 30, 2015, I am resigning as county treasurer. I have worked hard to maintain the financial records of the county and to straighten out the records for the new market tax credit entities. I feel that I am leaving the county's financial records in better shape than when I started. I am tendering my resignation now so that the magistrates have time to find a qualified replacement. It is my sincere hope that they do appoint an individual with the appropriate experience and technical knowledge, since this is an important job that will include many challenges with the financial condition that the county is currently in. I'm willing to make myself available to ease the transition for the new treasurer. Although I will not be serving as the county treasurer after June 30, I will continue to serve the county in any capacity the judge executive sees fit. Thank you.
Well, we thank you for your expertise during the time that you served. Hopefully we're, like you say, better off than we were when you came. Do you want to announce your appointment? Is that in this spot now? Should be? Can be, or whenever. Moving on then, we have one appointment at the Extension Council, and that was Mr. Marvin Burton. Due to the resignation of Keith Holbrook, we had to have a new member on there, so Marvin Burton was chosen to serve. And this is to elect the unexpired term. He's selected to serve the unexpired term of Keith Holbrook, which ends December 31st, 15.
Do you need a motion?
Yes, we'll need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. This interlogical agreement with Uzell.
Do you want to talk about that, Brandon, or? I gave everyone a copy of the property use agreement. This is the walk park at Ezell that Frankie had worked with. The Board of Education has voted on it and sent us, they actually, this is just a duplicate of the prior agreement that we had. However, in here, it states that the county has maintained an insurance policy of $1 million, which lists the board as the covered insured. I checked with our insurance company, and that has never been done. I don't know why it wasn't done. It can be done if we want to do that. That'd be up to you all.
Wonder what the cost would be on that.
That's what I started to ask, what, you may know the cost.
I don't know, but and it does not cover, they can give us a liability that would name the board if there's damage to any, I don't know what's in the park, I haven't been there.
It's a bunch of playground equipment, basketball court.
Okay, it pretty much covers that if it's damaged, but it does not cover if someone is harmed. The board would have to have that type of coverage.
What do we have at Canal City? Do we have that liability just?
Now, at Canal City, you are listed on our insurance policy. But when I checked with our insurance company, this has never been put on our insurance.
The company that used to own that land told me just recently that we own up to the 191 route, all the way down. I didn't know that. I was talking about a fire department there on the corner, and he was going to come, and I was going to show him the land that we needed. And he called me back, and he said, "Sir, you already own that land."
Right, I think there was some sort of a trade with the Board of Education a year or two ago.
Last year, I think. Well, that was for the church up there, which is probably a tenth of a mile.
Side of the road, isn't it?
Well, no, the church is probably maybe a tenth of a mile on up the road.
Oh, okay.
It's separate property now. We own the church, and then on down the road is where the park's at. So
Okay.
the church is owned by the county.
Yeah, I knew
Still
that.
getting a lot of flack over
Well, I was under the impression that the school board kept this $1 million policy, and I saw the contract and read differently, so I guess first thing would be to check and see what the cost is.
Yeah, and see and check with the board, I think, too. Someone would need to check with them and see what kind of insurance they've got.
Like I said, I was under the impression that the school board had this $1 million policy.
there. Does East Hill School, do they ever use the park?
Well, that's where their playground is down there. They
Should cover some of it.
the playground's been moved down there.
Then they should cover some of the
That's,
liability.
of course, the park can't be used during school hours. It's causing problems too.
Do we want to just table this and give them time to look
I'm
into
gonna say,
it?
yeah, they use it, they have to be responsible for part of it too.
Should be. I'd say it's a pretty good premium too, because you got school kids playing on it. It's,
I would say it would be cheaper.
but it's closed to public during
It's
the
closed.
school
During
hours.
school hours, it's closed to the public. There's locks on the gate. Anybody can jump the fence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Run through it. Well, I guess we need to look into that then and see what the cost would be,
Yeah, see what the cost would be.
and talk with the superintendent about it and see what they're willing to do. Okay, that completes what was on our agenda for today.
Well, do we need to go back up to number 3? If she's resigning, should we not advertise in the paper that position so we can have one ready for July 1?
Yeah, I would recommend you hire someone as soon as possible.
Because and we're kind of, our hands are tied with number 1, because if we get more than 3 magistrates together to work out a budget, 1 and 2, it's a violation, because you have 4 there, you've got a quorum, and you have to have a meeting.
There's nothing wrong with that. You can have a meeting and do anything you
Yeah,
want.
but you have to post it, and, I mean,
No, you can have a special meeting with 24-hour notice.
but I'm saying it has to be posted, you know, if someone wants to get
We'd offer
together.
like you a copy of last year's budget the year before, anyway, can.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, yes.
You know, if we could get together, we might be able to come up, cut here and cut there.
One more thing I'd like to bring to this board's attention. There's currently one vendor from the tornado that hasn't been paid. They've sued us for $954,000. You know, we're currently in discovery request right now, and answering the complaint, just answered it basically yesterday with discovery request.
I'll need to give you that too, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm just saying, you know, sometimes things can be negotiated, sometimes they can, I don't know, but there has to be, you know, some money put aside for this vendor, because we do know that they gave us some value, you know, and we have to pay them, and just want the court to be aware of that.
And I couldn't put, I mean, there was absolutely no way to balance it even with 1.5% with any amount of money going toward that vendor. I assume that that will have to be a debt issue again, and we're almost at our debt capacity. We only have about $1 million left to borrow. So should that occur, I mean, what they're claiming is 900-some thousand. Should that occur, you borrow that, that would need to be budgeted as well, the debt service for that debt.
Can we take this to court with the jury? Because I don't think there's a jury out there that will rule 900,000 for a tent and some porta potties. That's,
I mean, that's our contention, but you gotta understand, we're gonna have to pay something. We're gonna have to pay something, and, you know, if we can get it down to something more palatable, something more that's more market rate with other competitors, you know, in the Lexington region, and we get a you know, a pretty good settlement, you know, I've gotta have room, you know, I've gotta have room to be able to, you know, say, yes, that's a good number, we'll pay it, and then have money to pay it. You know, otherwise, you know, I think we have a good claim to price gouging, but I also, you know, understand that they did come, they were here a long time, they did provide tents, they did provide porta potty and an ATV, those things cost money, so we would lose.
well,
I don't know how big that number would be.
but I don't know, I don't think the court would want us to pay 900 and some thousand dollars. I mean, if it's a jury, surely to goodness, they wouldn't rule.
Well, you're right.
Will they send it to an independent committee to decide how much? Or is that something that, is there a committee out there that actually does work like that?
You know, basically what you would do is it would go to Morgan County Circuit Court, which it's already in. We would present our cases and let a jury decide. As I said, it's not a case that we're going to win. You know, it's a case that we're going to lose. It's just how much. You know, and of course I'm arguing that these prices that seem outrageous to me, but I'm not in the business. So at the moment we're trying to round up numbers from the year 2012 for the Lexington region. There's other companies that do what EDS does. You know, those are going to be kind of our case. But in the end, as I said, it's not something that, you know, a jury's going to stand up and say, okay, you don't know anything. We owe something. And
Well, they did provide a service of a kind, so we, like you say, we do owe them something,
yes,
but
Yes.
I don't know how much.
Have they come down off that 31,000 for Fort John down there?
I think that'd be best going into a closed session. You know, I've spoken with, of course, the attorneys for EDS, and you know, that's something I think that we probably need to talk about in private at some point.
What's the regular meeting time, the date
June
of that?
11th, I think.
What?
11th.
June 11th. Is that too late, June 11th? Randy's got to leave.
Is that, when's our,
June 8th to 11th for what?
is that our meeting for?
Discuss the golden porta potties.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, you know, this case, as I said, we're right now in the kind of preliminary stages. So yeah, June 11th would be all right.
There again, that affects the budget, so it goes the wrong way. No. Well, do we need to pay bills?
No, we're special meetings, so
We're special.
that's all we can
Yeah,
talk
okay.
about today.
All right,
We can't pay bills.
okay.
We need to adjourn.
We need to, hear a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second, whatever. One or the other.
All right.
All the same.
Yep.
Stanley, can you run over to the commercial bank?
It's time to get started. Looks like it's 5 minutes after. Let's have our pledge of allegiance, and Stanley, you lead us in prayer after that, sir. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, as we come to you today, God, with thankful hearts that you give us another day of life. Thankful, Lord, for each one that's here today. We ask your blessings upon each one. Ask, God, that you would bless our county, bless our people, Lord. So many that's lost loved ones, and so many of our dear friends and neighbors passed on. We ask, God, that you would be with the families and comfort them. Lord, just lead us and guide us through this meeting. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Well, I'd like to thank you all for coming about in this, it's getting to be every Wednesday afternoon's affair, and Brandon, he really likes to take his Wednesday afternoons off and come to a fiscal court meeting. And we appreciate his efforts for that.
There's no better in it, brother.
I guess we need to let you call the roll, Linda.
Denzel Potter.
Here.
John Brown. Stanley Rigsby.
Here.
Brandon Evans.
Here.
Anthony Likens.
Here.
Stanley Franklin.
Here. And we do
We
have
do
a
have a
quorum.
quorum.
Okay. All right, we need to talk to the treasurer about our situation that our our funds are in, and the do's and don'ts of it.
You got the
If
financial
you-
statements.
if you will.
It's this page, so you all know what you're looking at. The general fund, after we pay all the encumbrances at our meeting, assuming they're approved, we will have $95.73. We have a payroll on Friday. Without money moved to that account, we can't pay it. To the general fund and the jail. Without some money put in there somehow. So,
What about that, what deal on that 217,000, can't we do it?
we're working as hard as we can. Rebuild was administratively dissolved in September of 2013. We have a reinstatement application sent in. Actually, my partner Brenda is very familiar with that process, Brenda Morgan, and she has taken upon herself to call the Department of Revenue, figure out what we need to do, because Jim Seifert said until we got some kind of a letter back from the Department of Revenue, he wasn't going to be able to do anything. So she called and found out exactly what they needed. We sent in the Articles of Incorporation to the Kentucky Department of Revenue. They have to put us back in good standing and notify the Secretary of State that we are in good standing. And then at that point, the Secretary of State will make us active on that website so that we will be active and in good standing so that we may access that money. Until such time as that occurs, we cannot access the money according to commercial bank employees and personnel. They said that they will not permit it because we have the board meeting and everything, but I guess that's some kind of law or regulation. I don't know. You all would have to tell me that. Banking, I'm not sure. But they will not let us access that money yet.
So what's time span?
I've tried to get them to call me back before this meeting, but I couldn't tell you. I hope it's soon.
Because can we take money out of the road fund and then put that back in once we get the money from?
I'm just gonna answer what I know, that is restricted money. You all are the governing body. If you choose to do that, that will be your choice. If you cannot pay it back by June 30, that will be a consequence you will have to deal with.
You gotta weigh it out, the equation, consequence.
Yeah, I'm
Not
just
having payroll or-
answering your question. You all will have to weigh that.
Gotta have payroll. It seems to be a fund that we can,
I'll make a motion to take it out of the road fund. General fund, or we can get.
Okay, how much do you want me to transfer? Because they also did tell me at DLG that, you know how y'all have always had kind of like a blanket transfer where you would approve me to transfer as necessary? They said I can't do that in the future. So we will have to plan for those transfers in the future.
in other words, we're $1,000 off. You could, with that blanket, you could go ahead and
I could have done it and we don't have to